composition of Greenland's budget, which we have found to be problematic. We have decided to reduce the budget for both social policy and defense. Further explanation on how we intend to do it will be explained by the following policies and innovations. With the renewal of the social welfare system in place, we aim to be a just nation where all citizens are to be cared for. Policies will be put in place to make sure that hardship is suffered proportionally across the social ladder. We also plan for vouchers for the lowest 20% income earners for utility, transport, or daily necessity bills or any payment that every household will be required to pay. Policy 3 is an umbrella policy for a happy and healthy Greenland. It centers itself around human and public capital development. Firstly, tuition subsidies will be granted for those enrolling in medical training courses.
Okay. Policy 4 is an umbrella policy known as the Green Transport Initiative. It encompasses 4 sub-schemes within it. Firstly, the diesel tax. Secondly, the odd-even vehicle policy will demand vehicles with odd number plates to operate on Greenland roads only on certain days of the week. Thirdly, we have public-private partnerships. Lastly, subsidies for domestic and foreign green technology firms. We are proposing a new plantation policy as our 5th policy. A 15% property tax rebate will be offered for private-owned lands, which cover 30% of their land area with some vegetation. For the next policies 6 and 7, let us look at the umbrella term of education.
We're on to policy 8. We plan to develop industries that are aimed to achieve carbon neutrality in Greenland. Via green tax relief, stringent policies to adhere to green laws and subsidies, we hope to convert our current industries to greener ones. Another term we would like to address is agricultural reforms. Similar to education, we have 3 main policies targeted at reforming the agriculture sector in order to alleviate the problem of hunger in Greenland.
Thank you, Kieran. So next, we will be talking about the new innovations we came up with to benefit Greenland. Firstly, to reusing heat from factories. Secondly, creating a tidal barrage. And lastly, integrating AI in the power grid. This concludes our presentation. Thank you for listening.
Hello, dear judges. We're from Race Against the Fuels. Now I would like to present our findings regarding Agri-Enviro Greenland. Here's our team member, and let's start with the discussion.
The greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it. We believe that the prerequisite to having social welfare is that our citizens will have a planet to live in. Policies we created are based on 3 main principles. First, circular economy. Second, the EMFW urban nexus. And third, the government incentives to renewable energy. Building off the Daejeon Protocol, we are creating policies that target the specific problems of Greenland. Next is the EMFW urban nexus, in which we state our policies based on the 4 pillars of life, which is energy, water, food, and waste. This principle works together with our principle of circular economy in order to recover as much waste as possible. Now, the government incentives for renewable energy. Greenland is a developing country that currently relies on coal for its main source of energy production. The government of Greenland is committed to, first, provide accessible education regarding climate change and bring sustainability that will produce actionable results to bring betterment to the environment. We hope that our policies will be able to accommodate all stakeholders to tackle environmental, economic, and trickle to social aspects as well. And it is made feasible because of the budget of social policy being 36% in 2050. Working together with the policy, the innovations will be further explained by my teammate.
Okay, moving on to the innovations, we divide our application of innovations into 3 types of application. The first will be artificial photosynthesis, the second will be vertical farming and green area development, the third will be system integration. So the first application is artificial photosynthesis. Artificial photosynthesis is a part of the newest carbon capture technology, which focuses on the conversion of carbon dioxide into hydrogen and oxygen. In such ways, this technology is the pioneer upon bringing down the carbon dioxide resistance on the atmosphere, especially if integrated to carbon dioxide sources, for example, the coal production in Greenland. So this application is divided into 3 types of methods. The first will be photovoltaic electrochemical cell, of which it utilizes solar energy as one of the primary conversion energy to work. The second would be the water splitting mechanism, which is not in need of concentrated source. However, a catalyst and an N-type semiconductor is needed to ensure conversion and effectiveness of this method. The last would be bioreactor artificial photosynthesis, of which is a combination of water splitting and PEC systems. Moving on to the implementation analysis application. Second will be the vertical farming, green area development. We believe that this application is divided into three main ideas. The first will be the application of aeroponic and hydroponic systems as a means of sustainable food production. The second would be the purpose to serve as green areas, which reduces CO2 emissions and provides cooling for the environment. The third would be the production of locally grown energy minimum food production, which coupled with an integrated system explained in the further presentation. So the last would be the application of system integration. We believe that this is applied into three types of application. The first would be the green buildings following on the structural design based on vertical farming and artificial photosynthesis system, the agri-environmental climate scheme, and the photovoltaic water splitting artificial photosynthesis.
Everyone, we're trying to present society made of burned fuels. Our main idea is to create an adequate and smooth transition from industrial society, a bit conservative society, to a more green, responsible, and rational community for both people and corporations. That's our main idea and our goal to achieve. Through the policies, we firstly start to introducing a cap and trade system for the companies that we have, introducing a such limitation of greenhouse gas production of thermal production. We're going to subsidize the renewable power generation technologies. Continue on with social policies, we're trying to create a reliable and rational community as well as among the people. So we're trying to penalize those people and penalizing penalties for the car. As well, going through the medicine, vaccinations, and treatment of accompanying diseases is a very demanding course today, because as the tropical diseases occur in our country, which is very unfamiliar and very uncommon for the people, we have to create herd immunity, the population immunity in our country. The last one is international policy, lack of technological advancements, financial resources, and research required to expertise efficiently implement and use sustainable technologies in developing countries.
A very cheerful evening to all, and Assalamu alaikum. Our team today presents mainly three ideas that comply with the ideology of gradual shift from environmental adaptation measures to radical improvements throughout the country. The first is massive industrial shift to trigeneration. The second idea that we present today is the integrated industrial carbon industrialization disrupted the carbon cycle heavily. It is the technology's duty to solve this problem. The last idea that we present today is a transition to hydrogen-driven generation plants. Although most of the solutions, or most of our solutions, are directed towards peaceful and efficient environmental adaptation measures, it is anyway our priority to ensure sustainable future for Greenland.
So we are going to start the question answer session with the participants, and I'm going to open with a question from NUS Student Union team. My first question to you is, in your initial policy plan, you introduced a policy to dismantle any health or pension provision services. And given the scenario, there is a public health dilemma or a crisis going on because of the environmental issue, and people are suffering. There have been many casualties because of heat, strokes, and dismantling this health and pension provisions would have very drastic detrimental effect on public health. So have you thought about that?
Actually, what we propose is not the complete removal, but rather a revamp of the healthcare support payments. So I think we did mention in our written policy that there is going to be a scheme where the poorer pays less compared to the rich, who will be paying more for the healthcare systems. The spending would therefore be lowered, and the money can be placed somewhere else, which would be much better used for dealing with the current problem of climate change.
My question to Race Against Fuels is, they proposed an alternate energy source as solar panel. How are you proposing to deal with this low efficiency solar panels, because they will cause a spike in the installation price and operation price of these solar panels?
and I would like to answer your question regarding the photovoltaic. First of all, we are using the photovoltaic electrochemical cell, in which, of course, it relies on the solar energy. However, it also utilizes a lot of conversion from the CO2 itself, because it utilizes from not only for photovoltaic, but due to it being an electrochemical cell, it can also taken things from, well, the CO2 conversion itself, not only with the water, but also with other substances.
All right, I'll move on to my question to Team Salifa. Do you propose any alternate energy source to decrease fossil fuel usage? If so, what is the alternate energy source that you propose?
The last innovation that we proposed was the use of hydrogen fuel produced from the biomass burning and bioreactions. So essentially, the hydrogen, massive shift to hydrogen, is an alternative, cleaner way of using fossil fuels. Even if we produce them from natural gas, at least the exhaust gases are clean and not that hazardous.
In your written solution, we can see that your third innovation is using hydrogen gas as a fuel source. So we were wondering that since hydrogen is a volatile gas that is hard to store, collect, and transport, furthermore, hydrogen gas is also highly flammable. So how can you ensure that this hydrogen gas is being stored properly?
Essentially, we believe that based on the assumption that in 50 years, such technologies as, for example, palladium and other useful metals usage for hydrogen consumption through the absorption of hydrogen ions and hydrogen atoms to the palladium surfaces and through various engineered molecules, we believe that this would be quite possible.
So my question is, if it's at the expense of electricity, where's that electricity going to come from? From conventional fossil fuel sources?
Water splitting, even though they need electricity, due to the fact that it can be used from any electricity due to the n-type semiconductor and the anode and the catalyst, the electricity can come from anywhere. Either it is from household or it is from the production of the coal itself. However, since we have a transition from the coal production into the bioreactor and into the photovoltaic electrochemical cell, we can also use that to produce this water splitting.
So do you have any practical example to exemplify this significant increase in efficiency, 30% to 85%, that has been implemented worldwide anywhere?
We have this significant increase in efficiency. Why? Because we are not just using those fossil fuels to produce electricity, but simultaneously we also regenerating the heat produced from fossil fuels consumption to boiling the water in boilers and chilling water in absorption mechanisms that actually going to chill this water.
I'd like to ask NUS a question. It's a follow-up question regarding their public-private transport infrastructure revamping. They said about the green transport, like electrical buses in Singapore. For a developing country like Greenland, the main crux or the issue is generation of electricity, and how they're doing it and how they're providing electricity to their industry to operate is by relying on fossil fuels for the most part of it, like 75% of it. So if they were to run green transport electrical buses, where will the electricity come from? Will it come from these conventional fossil fuels burning power plant generators?
So one of the policies we actually raised, one of our innovation was actually to have a cleaner source of fossil fuel. So the burning of alternate fossil fuels can also be an alternate policy that we can come up with, which might not be in the written solution, but we have discussed about it.
I would like to leave the floor open for the honorable professors if they have questions from the teams.
I've noticed that there was a mental health issue on the social policies. Could you elaborate on that regarding the current problem?
To elaborate on the problem of the social and the mental health and mental health issues that we are currently facing in Greenland, it is said in the case that a lot of people are facing difficulties, the burnout, some people.
Okay, I have a question for Team NUS. As you propose in Greenland to have the use of waste heat to accelerate or to elevate the efficiency of overall energy use. I'd like to ask a little more detailed questions on that particular segment. Just for the sake of argument, I know that there's a development, well, not only development, but the use of this waste heat in factories and industry. How do you improve the use of waste heat better than the current level or current state of the art? Have you thought about it?
From the research that we have done, it is by using a water course and by using heat-proof material to ensure that the heat is able to be transported through a longer distance with less heat loss. So this is mainly the innovation that we are trying to bring out.
And we'll be moving on to the concluding speeches. And before the concluding speeches, I'd just like to make a concluding remark. As far as the debate sessions are concerned, this debate session was very constructive, and there were many innovative ideas to utilize energy in better ways and utilize alternate renewable sources of energy. For example, the Race Against Fuels, they proposed the use of solar panels as an alternate source. And SLIFA, they came up with a hydrogen fuel source to use for proposed hydrogen-driven plants for the generation of electricity. So we would start by Team SLIFA.
In conclusion, I would like to point out that we believe that one of the key features that this industrial Greenland as a country has is the fact that there is a high possibility of certain political unrest, certain civil unrest. That's why we really push the idea of environmental adaptation as the first measure, and only then proposed the transition towards hydrogen fuel as the alternative way to energy production.
Race Against the Fuels believes that the government's main role is to ensure the welfare of its people. And we believe that social welfare is a product of a fine balance of policies and technology that tackles both economic and environmental aspects. We believe an ecological aspect as well as the economic aspect are all three of them equally important to be considered upon the creation of both policies and innovations.
Balancing the relationship between economic growth and environmental protection is one of modern world's perennial problems that is deceptively straightforward but fraught with socio-economical and ethical issues in actuality. We do understand that our policies and solutions might not be perfect, but we believe that our solutions, after receiving all the constructive feedback, will be able to bring the best for Greenland and bring them out of the dark days that they face today. Thank you.
And this is it for today. The session is adjourned. Yeah, thank you. It was nice having you. Goodbye.